Right there, welcome back to the channel. Let's look at the 5 things that we learned watching United against PAOK last night. Getting that 2-0 win. First win in Europe, since Tuesday night, actually. Right then, Ahmad made a statement, didn't he? He was by clear the brightest spark in the game. He started the game fantastically. It looked like he had a point to prove. Was getting at his defence. Great dribbling. Real intelligent playmaking. It was just a fantastic performance from him. His header was fantastic. The tenacity to win the second, and should have had a penalty on top of that as well. So he has to start. I've been saying it all season. He has to start. I think he's such a good player. The one criticism I can have of him is that sometimes maybe he doesn't play with a little bit of risk. I think sometimes he can play within himself, but like he didn't do that yesterday, and he was sharp and he was on it. And you got to remember, he's still developing. He's still a Premier League rookie. He hasn't played that often, so he's been brilliant. I just want to see him start games. Simple as that. Just want to see him start games. Number 2, outside of Ahmad, and Mazraoui was doing Mazraoui things, but outside of that, it was fucking boring, wasn't it? Drab, slow, one pace, not really a lot of conviction in our play. Testimonial pace, wasn't it, really? Atmosphere in the ground seemed a little bit off. It was just a totally forgettable match. It was an opposition that knew they were overmatched, but didn't bring the sort of like blood and thunder that you sometimes see an opposition bring. Are United losing our spark a little bit? Do we no longer get people up for coming to Old Trafford? Is that a consequence of playing a fucking gazillion games in Europe at all times now? No matter where you finish in whatever league you're in. You're having to Google some of the teams that King Chelsea are playing against. It's nuts, isn't it? Now, I'm all for the egalitarian system of people getting away to play continental competition. But the sheer number of games and the complexity of this tournament. I mean, Arsenal fans were crying, which is always something to savour. Saying it was unfair that they got to play Inter away. You're like, robbed of their opportunity to play them at home. As funny as it is watching Arsenal fans cry, they might have a point. It's not fair. You can't play that team at home and that team away. There's an advantage to your home games, and there's a disadvantage to your away games. The one thing that you had in continental competition, in European competition, was in the group stage of the Champions League, you would play them home and away. And then in the knockout stage of the Champions League and Europa League, you would play them home and away. And then you had a tie. When they started eliminating things like away goals rule, that was probably an early warning sign that this was coming down the pipe, that they were going to do something like this, where they almost eliminate the need now for it to be a home tie or away tie, and before you know it, it's a fucking round 2 is in Riyadh tie, because there is no home or away advantage, so they can just do what the fuck they want with it. If you can think of it, and you think, yeah, that'd probably make a load of money, well, yep, look forward to fucking Anderlecht versus Roma in Vegas or something, because it just feels like that's coming, doesn't it? Like, anyway, yeah, last night was boring. Anyway, right, okay, Højlund, right. So, wasn't a good showing from him. Didn't hold the ball up well. Wasn't really a good focal point. Sloppy with his link play. Wasn't a lot in behind for him to get onto, to be honest. Doesn't look like the movement is developing. Striking has to be honest. Do you know what? Actually, a lot of football, right? One of the reasons why you do so many reps of drills in training is to chunk the patterns. That's why you practice. From whether you're 7 or whether you're 27 worth 150 million, you chunk these patterns and you replicate what you're going to see. So if you think about what you're going to do as the ball comes to you, you're getting tackled. It needs to be instinctive. The reason the best players are constantly checking their shoulders, seeing what's around them, they know as he comes to me, I'm already going to knock it out the back door out over here. And that's when players start to look good, when they can do stuff on instinct, when they can play on one touch, and they can play on two touch. If you have to wait till a ball comes to you to go, right, who's getting this here now? You're not going to do it. You play on your instinct, especially when it comes to attacking play. You have to let attacking players play on their instinct. You can't stop a drill and be like, oh, actually, let's Ronaldo that trains with us. If I stop Ronaldo and go, actually, you should have gone zigged instead of zagging here. He's going to look at me like, shut your fucking dick. You have to let attacking players flow and feel. And it feels to me like Højlund doesn't have that flow, that flair, that sort of killer instinct to know when to go and when to pull, how to move defenders around. Some of it can be learned, and some of it can be drilled and can be practiced, and you can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and you can know the fundamentals of what you're trying to do, but you have to play on instinct. The Premier League is too fast for you to be walked and talked through what you need to do. And it feels like he's lacking the instinct a little bit to me. Number 4, Garnacho. Now, we obviously saw the fuckwit that was chatting to him before the game. Did that affect the game? Probably not in the grand scheme of things. Garnacho clapped back nicely, I thought. But he isn't playing like the confidence player that I think he normally is. Is he tired? Is he overplayed? Is he overthinking things? Now, I thought when I was watching the game, the way Diallo was getting in beyond him and the way that Garnacho was feeding him almost every single time he saw him, it's almost like he was instructed to do so. And when we're talking about playing on instinct, the instinct of Garnacho is to be a greedy, selfish player, right? That's not a criticism. That's what he is. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're being productive with doing that. Cristiano Ronaldo's one of the most selfish players I've seen. He's also the most productive player that the world has ever seen. Ruud van Nistelrooy was one of the most selfish forwards I've ever seen. The good ones generally are. But it seems like, I've always thought Garnacho struggled in the decision-making a little bit. What to do at the right time and when. But he seems like he's messing up those small and basic things all the time now. From the start of the season, I've said I think he should be an impact sub, because I think that sort of chaos mentality that he brings, he's excellent off the bench. I don't think it's as effective when he starts a game. So I think with the emergence of Ahmad's performances, I think Ahmad has to be a shoo-in, and let's just rotate Rashford and Garnacho around, because I think that you're going to get the best out of the team. We're still going to lack goals, because I don't think Højlund's doing it, man. It's one of them, innit? And lastly, Amorim. Boy, does he have work to do. Look, I want to real temper people's expectations here. This is not going to be an overnight fix. The squad needs quality adding to it. I like the midfield. I think the pieces are there. I like the defence. I definitely think the pieces are there. I think the defence in United at the moment is probably our strongest asset as a collective of individuals, not necessarily how they're playing, but there's some real talent in there. The forward line, it doesn't have the same sort of talent. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see if he uses the system that we expect him to, the 3-4-3. I've got a video coming out on that tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Or does he bring something else? Has he been looking at United and go, actually, I think we can't play that system because I haven't got the men for it, or we can play this system. Whatever it is, there's a big decision he's going to have to make on that. But it's going to take time for people to get used to his style. Now, I think offensively, it won't take that long. Because I think that the 3-2-5 shape that we are lining up in when we've got the ball and we're in the opposition half, I don't think that's going to change, regardless of the formation. If he does change the formation, the thing that you're going to struggle with is the defensive transitions. Again, talking about playing on instinct, You've got to get into you've got to know where you're going instinctively. You've got to know your shape instinctively. It's got to be second nature. It's got to be a mantra to you. You haven't got the time to go, is he my man or your man? You haven't got the time for that. You've just got to react. So that's the thing that's going to take time for people to gel. I do not and would not expect fireworks straight away. There's going to be a lot of stuff to do, but I think it could be alleviated a little bit at least, or buy a bit of breathing room if we get a forward in January that can score some goals, because we need one. And I'm not even asked if it's a winger or a striker. We just need a forward, someone who plays up front that knows where the net is. That'd be a big help. Anyway, player ratings will be out a little bit later on, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.